behave like this, and it's completely unacceptable. And as you say, when the criminal justice system fails, people apply mob justice, which is a very, very dangerous situation for us to be in.
Please go check out rebelstoreZA.com. Their winter range is now available. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Real Moments. Real Moments are clips from videos or interviews that I think you might find interesting. I know some of you may not have the time to watch the full hour-long video or interview, so I thought these Real Moments can also double up as a bit of a teaser, if you will. And who knows, maybe if you enjoy this clip, you might want to watch the full video. Links to the full video or interview are always in the description below. Also, if you want to donate to the show, there's a link in the description for you to do just that. You can now contribute to the show for as little as 40 Rand a month via debit order. Also, there are now some exclusive perks if you're a member. T's and C's apply. This is only available through Quicket. Or you can visit my website for various options on how to contribute to the show. Donations are not a must, but they're greatly appreciated and go a long way to supporting the channel. And of course, subscribing is always free. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, here is your real moment. I read a very sad story the other day, and I mean, it's one of, like we said, thousands at the moment of cases that are unsolved or in the backlog, is the one of Chantal Mokoena, who was, I believe, a 5-year-old, if I'm not mistaken, 5-year-old girl, viciously attacked and sexually assaulted. Tell us more about that case.
Well, Chantal was, as you say, viciously and violently attacked, sexually assaulted and killed by a man who was out on bail for sexual assault of an elderly woman. And he was out on bail because, they couldn't prosecute him because they didn't have sufficient evidence. Which evidence do you think they didn't have? Well, the DNA. They weren't able to match the DNA because the system is so backlogged. And so he was released on bail. He went ahead and violently assaulted Chantal Mokoena, a little child, a little girl who had her whole life in front of her. Granted, living in a very difficult circumstance in a very poor community, but nonetheless, that shouldn't be a determining factor in, how safe somebody should feel as a child, that, they would be so brutally attacked and murdered. And, this gentleman was arrested and then released, and he was out on, bail. And they obviously couldn't link the previous crime to the current crime because they couldn't even process Chantal and his DNA in order to convict him or prosecute him successfully. And so what ended up happening was, after a huge amount of frustration, the mother, together with some community members, went and caught him and castrated him, and beat him up and sort of real harsh vigilante justice, because the system is failing. And when the system fails, this is what happens. People take the law into their own hands, which is also not acceptable. But what is really, really, really sad is that Chantal Mokwena's mother had an infant. I mean, she was breastfeeding her young child, and she was arrested and thrown into prison and separated from her young child, while Chantal's, the gentleman who, the violent criminal, sorry, I didn't call him a gentleman, the violent criminal who assaulted and killed Chantal was still walking free. Now, when people see that kind of justice, that kind of uneven justice, the system, that the lack of trust they have in the system becomes greater, and eventually, the system collapses under the weight of that distrust. And that's what's happened in the Chantal case and many other cases because of this backlog. And, this is probably one of it's a sad story, but it's an important story because it really highlights the importance of getting the system working properly and never allowing it to get to this state ever again. I mean, the backlog, Joe, is now at nearly 250,000. It's over 225,000. So It's getting worse and worse.
Yeah, Becky. Well, first, let me say, like, yeah, hearing that story of Chantal is very scary, and it this is what has frustrated me from the beginning since I heard about this backlog. And I'm sure a lot of my viewers on this channel may get sick and tired of me talking about it, but I feel if we don't talk about it, we're doing an even greater injustice to those victims and to the people of South Africa. I mean, and I truly believe this. If we have a failing law system in a country, wherever country you are, whether it's here, whether it's States, Europe, wherever you live, if your government cannot protect its people, that is a serious, 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 serious situation to be in. You know, and this again, like you said, this is what happens. This is what happens when there's no longer any trust, when there's no system to protect people. They take law into their own hands. We see it. We saw it recently. I think a week ago, um, somewhere in Johannesburg. I forget the name of the place, but the residents, I think it's in Honeydew or near Honeydew. The residents went around and looked for gang members, took them to a field, and brutally murdered them because the
Yeah.
gangs are taking over. And again, we're seeing more vigilantism happening in South Africa. And, on the one hand, you're kind of like, well, you know what? I don't blame them. But on the other hand, it's like, but it's wrong. And we need our police system or the law enforcement to just, I don't know. I know it's complicated. It's easier said than done. I know there's good. I've said this before on the channel in many of my videos. I know there's good cops out there. I know there's good cops that try their best every day with what they have. It's the ANC that makes it so difficult for them. Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
worrying.
the really sad part of it, as you said, there's some really unbelievable police officers who it's a real calling for them, and they work hard and they're professional and they're highly skilled, trained, very smart people who are doing such important work out there. But they're becoming increasingly the minority in the South African police service, while the majority are poorly trained, unprofessional, dishonest. And this is now, the minister always says, oh, it's just a few rotten apples. And I keep reminding him the whole barrel is rotten. If your barrel's
Mm,
rotten, all the apples are going to rot. And so
mm,
the barrel is the ANC government, and the
mm,
apples are the police officers, many of whom have become victims of a system which they think is normal. That
yeah.
it's normal to be corrupt and it's normal to, behave like this, and it's completely unacceptable. And as you say, when the criminal justice system fails, people apply mob justice, which is a very, very dangerous situation for us to be in. No matter how much sympathy people may have with those communities, it's just not acceptable. And what is the worst part of all of it is that SAPS cuts 3.8 billion rand from visible policing. In its budget for the new financial year, which is literally the frontline officers that are out there every day, boots on the ground, the thin blue line, holding things together. Cut that, but give more money to VIP protection, which is the
Mm,
protection that looks after the ministers. So it's quite perverse, quite honestly. The prioritization of this government is just completely backwards. And as
yes.
citizens of the country, I think we feel a little bit alone out there.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was your real moment. This is your second reminder to please subscribe to my channel. Please like and comment below. Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this content, please share it with friends and family. Also, check out the Joe Emilio Show Telegram channel. It's a channel, not a group, so you won't be bombarded by weird memes and information. It's really just a notification channel for you to be notified of all my upcoming uploads and live streams. Link is in the description. You can also watch more of my content here or here, somewhere in this general area. Just check it out. You might like it. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, stay safe, be kind to one another, and I'll see you at the next one. Cheers.